Hello world and welcome to Recap. When we ended last game, the party had just arrived at the land around Gergen's hometown and had discovered that a volcanic incident had taken place, wiping out the area. This week we started with Gergen deciding to go check on the shrine that he maintained when he lived in this area, a shrine to Balm that was outside of the city and likely outside of the blast radius of the volcano. Most of the party stuck with Gergen, but Melanoa took a more active investigative role. While the rest headed towards the shrine, she headed into the destruction, moving towards the town and the fields in the outlying area, trying to investigate whether maybe an army had moved in or if there was some other destructive force that had led to this so that it wasn't actually a naturally occurring volcano, maybe mischief caused by some wizard or malicious force. As she got closer into the destruction, she found more and more of it. There was ash covering everything, no life that she could find outside of some weeds poking through the thick coating of ash. She found some corpses of livestock that had apparently been almost mummified instantaneously by the effect. She also noticed signs of earth movement, such that the retaining walls that were built up around the barley fields and the areas that were set up at kind of steps were shifted and had fallen apart. So that some effect here, other than just an eruption, had taken place, causing the whole area to kind of vibrate and shift and massive amounts of destruction. Meanwhile, the rest of the party had gone to the shrine to Balm that Gergen once attended. Without someone there to actively maintain it, it had become overgrown, and for the most part it had avoided the damage from the volcano, a few rocks strewn about here and there that had managed to blow this far away from the volcano. But in general, it was still in pretty decent shape. Shortly after arriving at the shrine, the party started to have blurred vision and dizziness and went into individual visions. Those visions went something like this. You see a humanoid, normal size, but impressive stature. Its chiseled features present a beauty that even you can admire. It looks towards you, and you see something in its eyes. Then its skin begins to change, something consuming its flesh. It holds out a single fist and opens it palm upward. In its hand, you see something, except the invitation. Now, all those somethings were gap fillers, kind of Mad Lib-ish, that were specific to the individual that was having the vision. So, for example, with Relvin, who's ice-based, he saw frost in the eyes and the skin turning to ice. The key to the vision was the last part, where each of the party members learned of some aspect to a ritual that needed to take place to, as they understood it, accept the invitation of this being. Each of them was a little bit confused, and rightfully so. So they found themselves blinking in that confusion and then waking up, sitting on the ground in the shrine, and noticing that all the other party members were also sitting on the ground, blinking themselves back to consciousness. So they exchanged discussion a little bit, although as soon as Narar tried to contribute to say what he had seen, one of those crazy snakes came out of nowhere, bit him, and he fell over unconscious for the remainder of the gaming session, because that happens. Gergen learned that there needed to be a flightless bird sacrificed, specifically a type of ostrich. Zinja's vision showed him that an ammonia mushroom, which is a small toadstool, pink and green in color, that needed to be burned as part of the ritual. Varga's was pretty simple, which is good given she's kind of simple. She saw the sun in the palm of the hand. She knew that this meant that the accepting of the invitation needed to take place at the high sun. What Relvin saw in the creature's hand was a rippled purple gemstone, which is actually known as an underworld amethyst. He became aware that he needed to have one of these underworld amethysts as a focus for this ritual. After a brief discussion, going over what they had found out, the party decided to go and look for Melanoa since she still hadn't returned, and it had been a little while. By this point, Melanoa had actually finished her investigation and decided that there really was no army involved. If it was individuals, they probably could have gotten through without leaving too much of a trace, but the amount of destruction involved indicated that if it was magic, it was beyond the capability of normal mortals. Having come to those conclusions, she headed back to where she saw the party had been heading towards. The party reunited on these blasted lands at the edge of the volcanic zone. And just as Melanoa got within range for communication, suddenly she was overcome by the same kind of vision that the rest of the party had already had at the shrine. In her vision, she actually saw a book in the creature's hand, specifically a copper-bound tome known as the Primal Pathicaris. In that tome, she was supposed to be able to find the words that were to be used as part of the invitation ritual. Immediately, the party teleported back to a town to be able to investigate things. Muskil being the most obvious town, because that's where she had done most of her investigation into the weapons and armor for earlier in the campaign. And they were at the library, because that's kind of their teleportation point. It's what they knew. It's the place to be. So they all kind of split up and reunited and split up and reunited, and each had their own little agenda of what they were trying to investigate and learn more about with respect to this new vision. First thing that the party researched when they got into the library was the creature that had appeared to them in their visions. Based on what Melanoa knew and what Gergen knew from past knowledge and experience, they were able to trace it down to these were probably from the plane of Arborea. They did uncover a picture and verified that yes, what they saw in their vision was likely what's known as a lesser titan. These are chaotic, emotional, heroic creatures from the outer planes. Once upon a time, it was said that they even rose up and fought against the gods, confirming that this wasn't likely a malicious or misleading thing that was coming through on their vision. The party decided, okay, let's look into this a little further. Melanoa learned that the book theoretically was residing in the History Museum in the city of Jonesia, which this book is supposedly been around for a very, very long time and is said to be indestructible. So hopefully it's still there. No records seem to indicate that the city had been destroyed or anything like that. So there's hoping. Relvin didn't find any local jewelers or gemsmiths that had underworld amethyst on hand. In fact, he learned that it was a very, very rare stone located in the underworld in the area most prominently known because of the city of Amethyst, home to the Amethyst Dragons. He was given some hope, however, that maybe at a black market that occurred after nightfall, he might have some hints or find some stone there. Melanoa also did some brief research into the ostrich and found that the most likely place that they could be found in the world was in an area known as the Golden Fields, a massive savanna that's only a few hundred miles away from Gergen's homeland. She also found that there was a zoo in town and had an inkling to maybe go there and see if they could purchase an ostrich if this zoo had one. Zinj looked into the ammonia mushroom and found that it was most likely to reside in any tropical swamplands, specifically most known to be in the Poison Swamp, the area that is popular to black dragons, but they're not really worried about them. They just took out a whole bunch of black dragons in this dragon fight, so piece of cake. These mushrooms aren't actually good for cooking or eating or medicine or anything like that. They're poisonous and the fumes from them, if you burn them, are toxic and somewhat explosive. So pretty much no one will have them on hand. You have to find them in nature. Varga's trip to the library was somewhat more destructive. She decided to raid the picture book section and organize the animals, ripping out pages and stacking them by animal type. So, all the cats are in this pile, all the dogs are in this pile. The library didn't really take a good liking to that and kind of kicked her out. She stomped out, but took her page and said, "I'm keeping this one," stealing a picture of an elephant. That first night in town, Gergen tried to do research in a more mystical way, much less ambiguity, by using a commune to talk directly with an agent of Balm. Now, if you don't know, commune allows you, as a caster, to ask specific questions that get one-word answers, usually yes or no. The first question he asked was, were these visions from Balm? And the answer came back as yes. That kind of upset Zinj, because he was actually hoping it was these lesser titans that was sending the message, and that this was some battle against the gods for free will. To have it come back and say, no, this is the god saying, you should probably do this. That was upsetting to him. Second question was, does Balm really want me to sacrifice an ostrich? The answer to that one came back as unclear, which means the entity it contacted with the spell didn't know the answer to that. Gurgen then asked, does Balm want us to do this ritual? Which the answer to that was yes. Fourth and final question that he asked was, is this all to fight some big evil? And the answer to that question came back as no, it's not. Visiting the zoo, the party did find that there were ostriches there, but Varga once again acted up a little bit. You see, to her, all the animals are for food. So to see all these animals in their prime, nicely kept, she was frustrated that they're in cages rather than being used for food, and scolded one of the zookeepers about it. This was kind of detrimental to the conversation Melanoa was trying to have with that zookeeper about, can we buy one of these ostriches off you? That conversation wasn't going well to begin with because, well, the zoo isn't a pet shop. You can't exactly just go there and buy animals. She was able to make a little headway with the zookeeper after the rest of the party had left, and she threw out the proposal that if the zoo needed, the party could go and capture an animal for the zoo in exchange for one of the ostriches. No specifics were given, but the zookeeper did let her off with a, we'll let you know. So after 2 days of research into all of these things, the party had pretty much found out as much as they were going to. Narar was still asleep. They had stuck him in one of the hotel rooms. And the only thing really left to do was, after the second day, that night, Relvin wanted to go to the black market to see if he could locate one of these underworld amethyst stones. And that's where we left off. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Leave comments below if you have them, and I hope you have a fantastic day. When we left off last game, the party had just arrived at Gurgen's homeland, hometown, the land of Gurgen's home.